Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Trail Running Podcast, where we talk about all the fun and crazy shit that happens on the trails and in our lives that most people don't care about or won't talk about. Tonight is episode 326 on finding common ground in life, and we hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed recording it.
All right, here we go.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is fucking explicit and raw like the trails we run on, so don't listen with your kids! Cultra is brought to you by our patrons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right. Well, I'm happy to get this episode started. How you doing, Becky?
I'm doing better. It's been a crazy day, but it's gotten better. So,
Geez.
which is good.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Good. It's kind of like tonight's episode I'm excited about. It's kind of like sharing a cup of coffee, right?
I don't drink coffee, so
But if you
but
did,
it could be.
yeah,
It could be because of common ground.
that's
I
right.
don't drink coffee, but we could go out for coffee and I don't have to have coffee. I can have hot chocolate
Yeah,
or
and
I can have tea.
if you wanted a sip, then we would have common ground or common grounds. Anyway, listen, we know that. Yes, we know that the world is a tough place right now, because in a lot of cases, people aren't. My take on it is that people just aren't really talking to each other, and it doesn't seem like, and it seems like in a lot of ways that's happening. Mostly in politics, I would say, and ideology, right?
Yes, I would concur.
Yeah, no, you can't concur. Don't say that word. No, it seems like people aren't, people are kind of throwing people, they're basically making quick judgments to others and not talking about issues that they're really even concerned about. It's more like everybody's just kind of going on about their side of it, and most of the time not listening except for looking for opportunities to beat up on the other side. And of all the Facebook posts that I've read or political things that I've read, it doesn't seem like that like yelling the other side is going to get anything fixed. And I'm thinking, and a couple other people are also thinking, other brilliant people in this world are thinking,
So clearly not me.
besides me, no, including you, think that like we need to find some common ground. Even no matter, I think any place to start is a great place, but otherwise, we're not open, we're really not open to other people's points of view, right?
Right.
So,
And I think one of the things that we were talking about was how we can take some of these things and look at them through the lens also as a runner does, because I think some of the topics are just, I think there's certain topics that are just so intense for people that it's like, I can't go there. And
that's
I
right.
think when you try to look at it,
That's right.
from in a like kind of replacing that thing with something else and seeing how you're often able to do that with other things that maybe it allows for that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you have half the running world who's saying Garmin is the best, and the other half is saying, oh no, Coros is the best and it has a better battery. And they're like, well, Garmin has more features. Yeah, but I have a longer battery. And it's like, after a while, it's like we can't even hear, that discussion, or
we can't even look at our watches anymore.
No, I know. And we got to just be able to, we have time in common though, right? And we all go off of the race clock. and the certified race course or the lack of certified race courses. So I think that if we can all get along in the trails with different types of watches, that that hopefully we can find a way to discuss to discuss and reconcile our differences with our families. Sometimes it's families that have different opinions, under the same roof or under their extended family, or certainly our neighbors and the people that we deal with. So I wanted to ask you, Becky, have you ever had like a meaningful conversation with someone whose political or social views were totally opposite from yours? And were you able to actually have a conversation with them, or did it not actually work so well?
I, I've had parts of conversations with people. I think that uh, what's sorry, I'm like stuttering over my own words. Where I think when I've had conversations where um, I clearly have a different stance than someone else, um, and we both know that going in. And I think the times when I've actually been able to get something meaningful out of that
Mm-hmm.
was when the conversation wasn't, this is why you're wrong and this is why I'm right, or I just I I want to have I want there to be like disagreement. But
Yeah.
but but when there's been like a curiosity, I've had conversations that have been really really meaningful. And I think one that I can think of is I remember talking with someone about we were we had different political views, and I kind of was like in my head thinking, gosh, why do you think this and why do you think that? And as we got talking, we started talking about everything where, during the national anthem when people would take a knee. And and this person was like, I can't believe that someone would do that. That's so wrong. And I was like, well, tell me about that. And so from their viewpoint, they were seeing that as a family that this person came from a military family where where there was a military background where um,
Mm-hmm.
having respect for and like a certain level of respect for people in the the armed forces was a really a big
It's
a
non-negotiable,
big
right?
right, yeah. And so which it isn't that it's not where I'm like, nah, whatever. But that's where they were seeing it. They were just seeing it from this light of, my gosh, if you're not kneeling, then all that people have done for us during the national anthem, and to kneel, you're just saying, oh well, you went to battle and
Mm.
for nothing. And that's what they saw.
Yeah.
And in that in from looking at just that piece, from that it's like, okay, if that's what you were just looking at, that and you were raised in a
Sure.
where it's a focus was on um you know
So
that kind
so
of thing. But then what I had said was, but then we talked about, well, what about if it has nothing to do with that? What if it's, looking from a different viewpoint and saying, you know, that, that people that are taking a knee aren't doing that for that reason. They're, doing it for this reason to show, this. And I think we both got something out of it. Sorry, that's my dog.
no, can't hear
Oh,
anything with
sorry.
that. Nope, we're
That
good.
was nobody. There's nobody in the room.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you were able to you know, somebody takes the idea of your behavior during the national anthem to mean there's one strict interpretation of it, or at
Right.
least initial interpretation of it, that was, that they had. And, the other side of it might be, well, no, I still respect the military people 100%, as, and in some cases, the people who are protesting may or may not have already, may or may not have served even, you know. So but then they, so you were able to find, in some cases people are able to find a common ground like that. Like, yeah, I do, I do respect the military and appreciate the job that they do.
Yeah, and I think for this, what was the key for this conversation was like a genuine curiosity with one
Mm-hmm.
another, where there was like, well, I'm surprised that both of us made this jump to a conclusion, like, oh, so this is your viewpoint, so you must think this, and this. But I don't
Mm,
see you as thinking that. And then the
mm.
same in the other way. And we were both kind of shaking our heads and scratching our heads, looking at each other like, well, we have a lot in common and we have a lot of the same values. So how do we disagree on this? And then, the more that we like looked at it and we were like, oh, okay, like this is it. There's multiple lenses to see something through, and
Mm-hmm.
there isn't just one lens, and there's different lenses, um, and that you have to look at it from there and want to have a meaningful conversation. I think
Gotcha,
that's the
gotcha.
key.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like you have to have the willingness to be open to, to somebody else, right? Because otherwise, like if you're only hearing your internal narrative and looking for, I think that we've all had conversations where, you're just waiting to trigger something to trigger the diatribe of the other side, right? And like
Right. Yeah.
sometimes you're in a conversation and most I think for the most part people do try to avoid political conversations just because it's really like a bombshell these days. um
Right. Yeah.
but so they kind of like sometimes people will like drop a comment and just kind of to see how it lands and then dive all in once they identify you as on their side, whether it's
Right.
you know uh,
And
whether it's a quote unquote Trumpster or a liberal or whatever, so
right. And it's funny because I think where I'm looking at this question, or this question that you posed, and I'm thinking it's reminding me of looking at it from sort of a running perspective. I remember when I was pregnant and I was, reading different books, and my friend was giving me all these books to read, and and there was one or two books in particular where they took such a strong stance of
mm,
you're pregnant, so it's all about your baby that's growing inside of you, and you shouldn't be exercising. You shouldn't, like, you should be doing, I mean, you could do something, but like if you're a runner, if you're a swimmer, whatever, like put all that on hold. Like that's not what
mm,
it's it. Everything you do, you should be doing it, you know, um, for for your baby, and anything that you're doing that is not 100% for that is it's selfish. And I
mm-hmm,
remember looking at it and thinking, oh my gosh. And um and what upset me about that was that it was taking this extreme viewpoint and saying if you exercise and you continue to do that, well then you're not putting your pregnancy first. You're putting this other thing first, and being like really like, well, wait a minute.
mm-hmm,
Um and how I had, while I was pregnant, I had some really good conversations with people um when I was pregnant where, they would be like, oh, how are you doing? I know that you run all the time and now you're not running. And I'm like, well, no, I still am. And and it was that meaningful conversation of being like, where this person's like, I'm curious because to me, I would think that I'm putting, if I'm running, am I doing this wrong? Am I doing that wrong? Am I putting the baby at risk? Is my heart rate up too high? And we were able to, with these different people, we were able to kind of like talk about kind of both sides, and also seeing that we both were kind of coming from a same place.
Mhm.
But again, it wasn't a, oh wow, you know, you just ran a half marathon. You must not care about your unborn child. Like it
Yes.
wasn't like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I think that there's many people that
Well,
during their pregnancies they exercise a lot, and other people that don't exercise at all.
gotcha.
And there's some level of that works for everyone, and there's not a complete right or wrong for either of those.
Gotcha. Hey, have you ever listened to the podcast Hidden Brain?
Yes, because I have, because that's my favorite of other than ours. Sorry, I'm like,
Yeah, good. So the yes, so
I
it's
love her. Shankar Vedantam.
yes, okay, thank
That's
you.
his name.
Okay, I'm impressed that you can say that. So
That's his name.
I
I
know
love
it is.
Shankar.
Yes. So he
And he's
mentioned
handsome. Sorry. Okay, go on.
he's not as good looking as we are though, right? I mean,
Come
let's
on
be
now.
real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had an episode recently that talked about people having maps of the world, of their understanding of the world. Like people understand the world to be constructed a certain way, and
Oh,
certain
right. Yeah.
constructs, and this allows them not to have to muddle over every single decision, and also um, it also allows you to make faster decisions, right? And to not stress over things. So I think that, like, in a lot of cases people are trying to make things like binary, like it's either this or it's this, and if it's anything that smells at all like this, then that's what it is, instead of actually looking at the facts of it. And I found myself uh I found myself doing the same thing, right? I'm no different than anybody else. I don't pretend that like I'm all understanding of other people so much more than anybody else is, or anything like that, or that, and I'm not smarter than, everybody else or anything like that. Just most of the people. But, um, but, but I think that
So
oh, go ahead.
go on.
So his thought was that most people overestimate their ability to understand complex situations and to have a firm
Hmm.
understanding. Like,
Yeah.
and his example that he used, I think, was a toilet, right? Like, how does a toilet work? And like, all of us know how to use a toilet. I mean, for God's sakes, we use one. Everybody uses one, unless we're trail running. Like,
Not the person who left a big surprise when I went out from under the bridge at Middletown.
oh no.
I was like, what animal made this big poop? I'm like, nope, that was the person that just squatted in the park. Ginormous.
There we go, people. So that's like a local traffic report.
So if
Oh,
that was you on the other side of the Aragoni Bridge over by Harbor Park,
thank
uh,
you.
yeah.
That's what we call common ground, Becky, right there. Oh my
Oh,
gosh. So anyway, so what his example is that we all use toilets every day, but like if I were to ask you like really how a toilet works, you know how to operate one,
but that doesn't mean I know how it
but it
works, right?
but it but you don't really even know how it works. But you would maybe come out with decisions, and we're certainly having deep passionate opinions on things that are much more complex than a toilet, right?
Right.
And that our ability, so that we think that we know these things, and in a lot of cases we really don't. We don't, certainly haven't explored all of the areas of them. And I don't know.
So have you had times where you've had certain assumptions about someone and thought, yeah, no, this is what I think, and you feel like you have some pretty positive evidence to support that your assumption about this person, and then you realize, oh, I was completely wrong. Like my assumption of this was not at all what I What wasn't correct?
Well, yeah, because I've had situations where I thought that people were just kind of feeding me their line about whatever the topics were. And in this case, it was a political, it was like a lot of people, sometimes people will just come out and tell you, oh, I heard that, Trump is doing this and that, or that people are burning Tesla dealerships, or, this and that and the other thing. And like, so I just like tend not to believe any of that. So as soon as this person brought up this topic to me, my instant my instant thing was, well, it's probably bullshit. It's probably fake news,
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, it's interesting that you're not really curious about what I have to say, in case that was, if that is true, and that you instantly just assume that automatically that it's false. And I said, wow, you know what? You're right. You're right. I just instantly assumed that it's got to be wrong, and tried to just make that make that assumption. And that kind of opened up my eyes to a lot of different things, because I noticed that I was doing that I would watch somebody on TV speaking, a politician or whatever, and listen to them speak and be like, oh, and start like every little thing that they say wrong, I'm like getting uptight about, instead of like listening to really what they're saying. And choosing to believe somebody is maybe a different matter, but at least on what they're saying, like, is it a good idea, or is it not a bad idea? Is it a good or bad idea? Is there something that's good about that? And most of the time there is. If we look, there's some common ground. Even a speech that's made by a politician that you wouldn't vote for, there's parts of their speech that most likely makes sense, most likely is true and is logical. Now, me saying that, I know there's a bunch of people that are listening and they say, yeah, but that's crazy, because this guy's I had that conversation, and I've had people say, the old thing, oh, how do you know if he's lying? His lips are moving and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, I don't know. It doesn't get us anywhere. So what do you, so I was kind of accused of not being curious, Becky. How do you stay curious, or do you feel that you're curious when somebody does something that you disagree with? How do you deal with that?
Honestly, this is where one of those things where I think I could learn a lot from the runner, like the everyday me could learn a lot from the runner me.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would say that the everyday me, not the runner me, I can be honest that I'm not super curious about things. I feel there's a part of me that just feels sad and feels depleted, and like, you know what? I don't I don't like this, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm just gonna do the things that I think are right, and I'm just gonna not look at this. I'm just gonna not pretend it's not there, but I'm gonna focus my energy on this over here. And I'm not curious, and I'm not looking things up. And there's a lot of things that happen in the news where someone will be like, "Did you hear whatever?" And I'm like, "Nope." And I'll be like, "Wow, I should really know about that." But it's that part of me that where I've taken that curiosity and just been like, I can't handle it, and just dropped it, and not wanted to and dropped it to the point of forget about being curious, just not even educating myself enough or wanting to know, hey, I'm probably not going to agree with this, or maybe I'm going to, but let me hear what's out there. And the reason why I say I think the runner me, the day-to-day me could learn from the runner me, is that when I'm out running with people, that's one of those things that I am super I'm super curious when I'm out there. I'm looking at everything, I'm seeing everything, I'm noticing everything. asking people different questions. I'm, if it's a looped chorus and I see someone and I think that they have great arm muscles. I'm like, those are great arm muscles. What do you do for it? Or,
Big boy.
Yes.
Hey,
Oh,
Romeo. Yeah, love a girl.
but it's those things that I don't either I don't know anything about or maybe I can't relate to that is so like it's intriguing to me and I want to know. And so that's when I start to talk to someone um, or I'll, see someone and wouldn't think anything of, somebody that I don't know that may be struggling and just stop and put my hand on their shoulder and, give them like some words of like, advice or just stand there and just, with them and whatever. Um, and I think that's what I love so much about running is that I am such this curious person and I want to know all these different things like why is this person doing this? Why is that person doing that? And I'm so curious. This is fun. I'm curious and I want to learn. And it doesn't mean that tomorrow I'm gonna have the same things that they do or um but I think that the regular me needs to, I think, take that runner me because if it wasn't then I would
No,
be like the snotty person
yeah.
that just isn't that just is doing their own thing and somebody might be vomiting on the side of the trail and I just run by him and say well clearly you're probably vomiting because you drank this and you ate that and you're not supposed to and this and this so
That's
well,
right. You
like,
should have had real food instead of goose because
yes.
only real food is the proper and right way to fuel.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, and it is like that's an interesting thing is that you're right. I think maybe because like running is kind of low stakes when it comes to um it comes to life like compared to like I don't know why we feel that I don't know like
well, I think it's
you
just
know
so basic. It like it, it, it it's yeah, it's just especially when it, I mean, you talk about like exercising and then you're like running, like so that almost seems even more
mm,
basic. And then you're out in the woods and that's even, more. And then like you're out there for a long time. And then like I think like it it lends itself more to being like this curious person. I think if you're somebody that goes off into the woods and runs for a gazillion hours, um, and there's a part of you that's got to have a lot of curiosity about whether
yeah
it's people or it's things or it's
it
something you've got to be a curious person.
yeah most of the time I think it has the possibility of threatening your map, right? Your understanding of how the world is made. And if you um, will entertain a different idea, then it's going to involve you redoing your map. And that is, for a lot of people, that's a scary thing. Now, just think about all the people that we all know who, when you say, when you show them your medal that you happen to be wearing under your shirt or whatever, you know,
Yeah,
no,
which I always have on.
yes, yeah. So yeah, and you or the topic of running comes up, and maybe it comes out that you're a runner, and they're like, well, oh, I my knees are bad, or I could never do that, or I don't have the whatever it is, fill in the blank, I couldn't drive that far, all these other things. It's most of the time it's not like people don't have that serious consideration of even attempting it because I don't think it's really for many, maybe it's not, it's just because they're not willing to they're not really willing to redraw their map, to say, oh, maybe I could try this and see if, wow, is
Right.
running
Yeah.
something I should actually do? But most of the time it's like, oh no, I'm just scared, don't want to look there, let's go somewhere else. I couldn't drive that far,
Yeah.
and it gets dismissed. Or even a trail runner or a road runner, right? There's lots of mountain runners that will tell you I could never do a 1 mile 24-hour race, a 24-hour looped race. I just couldn't do it,
Right.
and are
Right.
like 100% convinced that that's the case. And and I don't want to do it, whatever. And I mean, I'm not saying that everybody has to do everything, but sometimes there's just like no, um, it's something that we're not even going to consider, which I guess you can't do everything. So I guess that we have to make some decisions, but,
So have you ever had like instances where like whether it be running or whether it be something else that was like a major something that was like not maybe a major issue or a major belief or a major like thought, and again it can be running related, it can be anything related, where you felt pretty strongly about this and your view changed?
yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple things. Like if I think about it, like, my, from a running standpoint, um, so just a little bit of background. I really started running in 2002, like maybe the early part of the year of 2002. In 2004, I broke my shoulder, right? And
Mm-hmm.
um, and I did that all on roads, right? I was running all on roads, um, and and it hurt. It hurt a lot. Okay, and it was really catastrophic. It was extremely painful. And I had heard about trail running and just said, trail running, you trip and you fall and you hurt yourself. Okay. So I didn't run a trail race for probably another 4 or 5 years, just because I wrote it off as being something that was just far, it was just something that I couldn't do because of my shoulder, and that, I put that limitation on it. And I kind of got, I went and did Bimbler's Bluff, right? And
Wait, that was your entrance back in?
yeah, that was the first trail race that I ever did.
So wait a minute, let me make sure I'm hearing this right. So you break your shoulder,
Yeah.
then you kind of are like, all right, I'm staying away from the trails because the trails are bad
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to be good. And it takes you 4 years to kind of get back in the trails. And then you get back in the trails at Bimblers.
Yes. Yeah, it's not.
So,
Bimblers isn't a.
so you didn't, according to me, see, this is where, this is maybe like an amateur swimmer versus a professional swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that and I'm like, wow, you didn't go into the shallow end or start in the kiddie pool. You just jumped into the deep end with the sharks. Because my experience at Bumblers was like, oh my God, it was so hard, whatever. So here I am, like doing that thing where I'm
Yeah.
making that assumption.
I
Because
thought Bimblers.
I'm sure you're going to say, no, Bimblers was very doable. It was
Yeah.
that was a
I still think, as it compares to the other races around here, that's relatively. I don't want to call it an easy race, but it's, and it's changed over the years. There's been a couple changes. I think it's harder now than it used to be, but it's still a very runnable. There's tough parts, but it's also.
isn't this such a great example? Because it's not like I'm like, what are you saying? Because nothing that you just said was wrong. Like none of it was
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and nothing that I think is wrong either. Um, and I hear what you said, but I would never look at Bimblers and be like, that's a runnable. That'd be a good first
Yeah.
ultra, like
No, I think
first trail ultra. Like I would be like, no,
you
no.
can.
But again, it's not like you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what I think. It's totally not
Exactly.
that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. You would, like,
And
people would sometimes come out and say, no, Bimblers is easy. It's the easiest race ever. Or no, it's the hardest. It's got the bluff head. You don't go up that. It's not easy. So, but it's an hour, for me, it's at least an hour faster than Trap Rock.
and another perfect
Easily.
example.
And
You're comparing it to trap walk, whereas I won't even go there. So that's where it's like you have that narrowed view where just kind of like we're talking about in politics, where someone's like, nope, I have a belief about this. I think this and I'm not going to go there. And so I have had this thought in my head that trap rock is hard and scary
Mm.
and that I'm going to dump it and I'm going to break things and I'm going to do horrible and I'm just not going there because it's too hard.
Oh, you
And so
might though.
how interesting.
You might dump it there, Beck. You
Well,
might.
yes, I probably would. There
I
was
did
a
twice in the same race. Same rock I tripped over 11 miles later.
but what's
Yes. Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
is
I hear
that
you.
it's like we're talking about this, and to me, this is like interesting because I want to know, like, so what is it about that race, and what is it about this? Whereas if we were talking about something else that maybe to me had a little bit closer place in my heart or whatever that I felt really passionate, that I wouldn't necessarily be as as curious, but I should be.
Hmm.
But I should be curious
Yeah.
and want to hear um those things and also that I think just an aside, a pet peeve of mine, and I've said it on the show before, is when whether it's a guest on the show or whether it's one of us or something where it's like someone's like very absolute nope, right and wrong, like
Mm-hmm.
trap rock is the hardest race on the East Coast, and anybody that says it's not is completely wrong. Like
No,
that,
blue to
it's
blue,
all
blue to
this,
blue, or
right? But any of them,
yeah,
like
yeah, sure.
when anyone kind of
Absolutes.
comes in and gives an absolute, like that drives me insane because they're not wrong, but they're
Yeah.
not right either. There is no right or wrong. Like there just is
It
not a
depends on
right
who
or
you
wrong.
are. It depends on who you are, right? And
Yeah.
it depends on the day, and it depends on how you approach it and how you're, I don't know, so many different things, right?
Yeah. And I I I I think that's something that is, I mean, it's hard for me when it comes to running as well, where I have, when you have the person that's like, wow, so you clearly don't care about your body that you're running all that.
Mm.
Well, that's too bad that,
Oh,
you want to
art,
have your knees replaced.
art.
Like,
There's
where I'm like, well, like, uh,
Becky. There. Did you know that there's bears in the woods, Beck?
no, come on now.
And there's bears at definitely at Trap Rock. They've had, it's getting to be a regular thing. Like there's usually, yeah, you see bears on the course. You
So
know,
you should never go in the woods.
no, it's
But
very
anyway, so I got off
yes.
track, but yeah, it's that
I'm not lost. I was following you.
oh my God, I love that story. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
that story
gosh,
is always gonna.
that was great.
Uh, that was for anyone that doesn't know, because Art brought it off. I do have to tell you that about a year and a half ago we were doing Stone Cat, and was behind me, and we're running along, and all of a sudden I don't see the markers, and then I turn around and I circle back. I'm like, oh, Art, I'm lost. We went the wrong way, and you're like, no, 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 no. I've been watching. I know which way I'm going. So I'm like, no, no, but I'm in front of you, and I haven't seen any of the markers. And Art kept just adamantly, but no, but I've been following you. I'm like, right, but you're following me and I haven't been following the markers. But Art was so focused on the fact that he was following me, so therefore he was following someone
Made sense at the
that,
time.
right, that even though he was following something wrong, you were just like, I'm following this, so it must be right.
Mm,
And I'm like, no, it is not. And so it did take a couple minutes before Art realized that he's following me and I'm going nowhere because I'm lost, which
mm.
therefore he is lost.
Yes.
Anyways, okay.
No, that was something. So, as far as like the finding common ground thing, um, so do you have how do you get when you have differences, like some, I don't know if you have differences in your family about
Hmm.
that, and how do you deal with that stuff, or your neighbor, like maybe your neighbors and things like that? How do you deal with um political differences? Is it, I mean, I know it's not like probably a simple answer, but
Yeah,
is there any trick or anything that you've found that works, or?
I think what frustrates me is, and now I could see it where I can see other people being frustrated with me as I am with these. I'm like making these realizations as I'm saying this, but I have, family members that it's where we have very different views.
Hmm.
And it's very frustrating to me because when we talk, the, and I try to ask questions, there's no, they don't really kind of have a response. It's,
Mhm.
well, just because, like,
Yeah.
just,
Well,
and there isn't like where you're like, okay, well, tell me what you think about this or tell me what you think about that. And they don't know and they're not curious and they're not asking questions, but they have this one small belief. And because they believe in that, to make sure that that's right, they're going to believe in all this other stuff and they're not curious about anything and they're not educated. And that infuriates me because they'll say things that are really, really ignorant. Where I'm like, gosh, that's you don't realize how ignorant that is. But as I say that, I'm thinking of myself and I'm thinking of all these things that have happened over the last months, especially since November, when I've been like, that's it. I'm shutting it down for a while, where I have like just looked away and been like, I can't handle this.
yes.
And I'm sure that I have made statements that were really ignorant
Hmm.
because I was making these statements based on whatever knowledge base I had in November of 2024
Yeah.
and not
That was
on
a Stone
keeping
Ages
up
back.
with, yeah, like, and not realizing that, hey, did you know that this has happened since then, or that's happened, or
Mm.
whatever, and not realizing that, wow, now that statement that maybe back then wasn't so ignorant.
And sometimes,
There's more I should know, and now my statement really was ignorant,
I
and
mean,
I was being,
yeah, no, I get you. I get that. And I think that, like, here's the thing is that I think, especially after hearing um that episode of, or actually a few episodes were related, of the hidden brain, that, like, really all of us, one of the other thing, most of us don't know enough about X, or we don't know enough about a given topic to really discuss it intelligently. I mean,
right.
we know what is important to us, but the mechanisms to achieve that politically or, um, socially, and sometimes those aren't always as clear as we'd like to think,
Mhm.
because it's most of the time it's based on hearsay. It's based upon us trying, somebody else told us that was a good idea, who somebody else told them it was a good idea, and they read something on on some post. So it's I think it's okay though, for or something that all of us have to do at different times is step back. Like you mentioned before, that, like, yeah, you weren't, if you're, I think if you're watching the news too much, like, or doing all
Yeah.
that, like, yes, I want to be an involved citizen and, um take part in the governance of the country. But if I try to do that by listening to the news all the time, I can easily drive myself into a fucking axe
Yeah.
murderer,
Right.
and then the woods will not be
Mm.
safe back. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm saying,
Or listening to just one news station, just like when you're
yeah,
only running
yeah,
on one type of terrain.
like,
You
if,
you
yeah,
have to mix it up. If you know that you're not a good downhill runner, you still got to throw that in there. And
that's right.
maybe at the
Yes.
end of that workout, you'll say, God,
Yeah.
this is why I hate downhills, or now I'm going to be sore for 3 days because all that downhill running, but you did it. And so I think that
Yes.
kind of can be like listening to other viewpoints, or, you know, being like, I'm going to listen to news on this station just so I can hear it, even if I don't believe it or like it or whatever, but just so that
Yeah.
I I'm
You know where the exception is to
educated.
that, Beck? The exception to
What?
that is when it comes to the important things in life, like the Culture Trail Running podcast. Like, you should probably subscribe, because that would be a good way to support the podcast, is by subscribing to
Yes.
it, and telling your other friends about this, um, and that helps build the community. And we love to interact with new people too, even if they might be road runners who like are thinking like, this
Yeah.
trail running shit. I'm like, 5Ks are the smartest thing that ever happened in the world. And you ask any ultra runner and they're going to say 5Ks are fucking
Oh my God, I
death.
hate them.
it's it's
I
called
hate them.
it's called for me, I always considered a 5K like 18 minutes of pure hell, right?
Yeah, and then 5 more minutes.
That's my story today. Okay. It used to be
Um,
an oldie. um
yes. So I would agree in this where, where you can think, I don't like anything that's evil. Evil is bad. There's no good evil.
yeah, there's
And
no
then
good
you meet me
that's
and you're
right.
like, but there's evil Becky.
Evil
So
Becky Bird.
there is an evil out there that
That's right.
isn't that
A good evil.
uh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, right, we'll go with that.
Yeah. I like it.
um okay, so what do
Oh,
you
so
oh, go ahead.
uh so eh, have you had like um do you think it's possible like to build relation you can be honest with this like eh, do you think it's possible to have like a really significant relationship with someone when your views on things that are really personal to you um that you disagree? Do you think that it's feasible?
I think it can be. I mean, I think that here's the thing, like, there's few and it's hard to find the perfect mate, right? And even
Mm,
when you have somebody that you're married to, there's going to be things that you see eye to eye on, and things that you're very, you just have different opinions about them. And that's about as perfect as it gets. There's other there's other people, like sometimes family members, sometimes neighbors, that just have a completely different outlook on life. And um and those have just huge differences. And but I think that you can still build a relationship. I just think that relationships, they don't have to all be the same intensity. Some of them are going to be more superficial, some are going to be deep on certain points. Like, you might have travel interests with somebody of a different political persuasion. you know um you might have
carry on versus
that's
check
right.
bag.
Yeah. um so uh yeah, so I think that there's always, like, you can find that common ground. Like, talk to cyclists in the parking lot, right? They're out there cutting trails that just jackass all around the woods, like, just like, they can't figure out which way they're going to go. They go
Yeah, where
zigging
they're
zagging,
crossing over their own trail
zigging
like
and
85
zagging.
times. And
That's right. Yeah. They, banking up shit and all sorts of ladders and jumps and all that stuff. And, we like to go basically straight lines straight up the hill, you know,
right.
but,
Yes.
but
No jackassing
but
around.
but I think that we do, okay, so we joke about that, but like, when I'm out in the mesh, in the forest, and I see people on bikes, you know I appreciate the fact that they're out doing what they like, even though it's not what I choose to do. I don't choose to
Even
run.
though you're taking that stick and kind of putting it out and wedging it in the spoke so that
Yeah.
they
No,
go
no, no,
over the handlebars.
yes, I know what you're saying, but I do, in I now, if they're on a blue trail, a trail that they're not supposed to be on,
That's,
I very politely let them know that that, hey, I'm sure you probably didn't know this, but these are foot trails
or
only. And there's lots of other great places to ride, such as the mesh, all the rest of it. You have the whole other thing, just not here, right?
or when people are running on are using their dirt bikes on a trail, say a Stone Cat, where there's clearly a race and they're using their dirt bikes on it, and you're maybe at mile 40 something and life isn't feeling too good, and you want to just take a rock and beat them with it.
Mm. You
You
could.
know,
Is there any
you
witnesses? So
exactly.
very good.
Should you do it? I don't know. It depends.
So so here's the thing though. Like, is there value in staying connected to people that you disagree with heavily? Like, is do you think there's a big value in that?
It's I think my answer to that is actually a shout out to Mao Pao. And I think I might have mentioned this before. And she had posed a question. It's a political question, and it was weeks ago. And it was I just had so much respect for it because it really was like this curious question where she was like, I I don't understand this. I don't mean this in any sarcastic way. I'm not trying to put anyone down,
Mm-hmm.
but I truly want to see the different sides of this. And, you know, please can someone, you know, tell me what they think. And and unfortunately there were a lot of people that just, and there are a lot of people in the world like this who love discourse, and they love conflict, and they love disagreement. And so, they're not gonna they're not gonna give you what you want. They're just gonna be like, well, what it is that you're an idiot and I'm not, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and not be willing to be curious and respond. Um, and I think there's people like that with everything. Um, but I think it was so great how she asked that question, and there were the jerks, there were the people that didn't, that responded with just trying to instigate, trying to dig, trying to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, which is unfortunate. And there's people on that do that who are all different, types of people. Not They don't have to be Democrat or Republican or independent or whatever, or religious or not religious. Like some people, they just like that. And um, I think when you don't allow those individuals to steer you from being curious and asking questions and wanting to keep a relationship with someone, um, I do think that's good. Sorry, I like kind of got a little bit off track, but
No, I
I
got you.
I had another friend that I probably should have said this story instead, but who kind of did the same thing where she's like, "Hey, I have this question. I don't really get it. Can somebody, you know, can somebody kind of explain this? Someone that is, of this viewpoint, explain your view." And, initially, of course, there was the people that were kind of being snotty and snappy back. And she was so good about it, where she was like, no, like, this isn't a trick. This isn't like, I really want to know. And, somebody that we went to high school with kind of like just kept kind of like giving like this little bit of a smart ass like dig response, like I want to instigate you. And with each of her responses, she just wasn't giving into it, and she was
Mm-hmm.
but being curious. And they like slowly, were saying more. And then at the end they said, well, I guess I should say goodbye, because now obviously you're gonna unfriend me because we don't have the same viewpoint. And she was like, no, actually, I'm gonna pay closer attention to your posts, because
Mm.
it's not my view, but
Yes.
it educates me on on people that have a completely different viewpoint. So no, why would
Yeah.
I do that? Because that that wouldn't serve me or you well. Like that's good that we disagree.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't, I just thought that was great. Whereas I was the one that was like, damn, that guy, I knew I never liked him back in high school. Yeah. And I was ready to
Yeah.
unfriend him. And then I'm like, man, Courtney didn't unfriend him. I can't unfriend him.
Yes.
Darn you. Darn
Yeah.
you, nice friends.
It is. It's crazy because, and I know there's probably people listening um, that feel some of the issues are hitting them more personally than just like a
Yeah.
difference in opinion. Like for some people, it's like they're trying to like outlaw my lifestyle and, you know,
And put you completely at danger.
yeah, yes, correct.
And
So
that is awful.
yeah. Um, but one thing that we do know, and certainly those are decisions to be made. And I'm not saying that you have to like, um, whatever, that you have to buy into everything. But I think that, and eventually at some point you're going to need to make a vote, right? You're going to vote for one person or the other. But I think that you can still, like, if you're being honest, you would find some things that you do like about one candidate or something, and some things you might not like about your own party, right? And on those common grounds, that might be a way to start to connect with other people to, to try to, I don't know, to try to, I guess, just get like a better, make really a connection with other people, right?
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I had something else I was going to go with that, and I kind of lost it there in the warm up. It's like you run and you think of something, and then you're like, oh fuck, oh my god, this is so monumental. Wait till I get home, and everything's going to be different from now on. And it's like, whoops, what was that? um
No, I hear you. I
so this
think,
is this is it. Okay, before I forget.
oh,
So
okay.
what I
Yes,
was
go
going
on.
to say very quickly is that, if you look at investments, one key to a successful portfolio is diversification, is to have large companies, small companies, investments that are domestic, foreign, long-term, short-term, liquid, and things that you can't liquidate as fast, different sectors, and I think that makes us stronger. And also the same is true in nature, right? When you have, diversified people getting together, it makes for a stronger, stronger evolution, right? So,
Mm.
um, so I think that, it's a shame that, I would hope that people would also consider that, like, having those differences of opinion add value and add strength to the quality of your life, and to the way that you choose to live your life ultimately. So um,
Well said. Well said.
okay, it took me a while to get there, right? So
You rounded the bases.
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
um what else is there? Anything, have you learned something from people that you initially disagreed with at all, Beck?
Sure. I I think that one of the things, that a big thing that I had learned when I was, last year at this time, I was in a treatment program, and which was really quite beneficial, and it was a group setting, and people would, there's a lot of like kind of like talking about your experiences and kind of how you're feeling and what you're going through, and it would evoke, somebody could be talking about something that's really sad for them, and yet I have this reaction that's like angering and upsetting because I'm viewing this as like from a different lens, And what this program allowed us to do was to be able to say, hey, that really stinks that that hurt you. But I gotta say, as the person that kind of is on the receiving end of that in my own life, that really sucks. And in kind of forcing you to look at things from different
Mm,
perspectives and realizing,
hmm.
um, I think I learned so much from that, and not so much like you're right and I'm wrong, but that it's not like there's just nothing is black and white.
Yes, yes,
It,
that's it. It's not one way or the other. It's usually both ways, right?
yeah, and
So,
there's not that one of the things that I especially last year would say all the time is that it's there's like there's three sides to every story. There's my side, there's your side, and then there's the actual story. Like there's what actually happened. Because you're looking at it through different lenses, and
mm,
there's it's it, there's no you can say something and be like, this is how I feel, and you're right. You're right about it. But there is no wrong to it. It's
mm,
there, in being able to be okay with that. Like when you think of so many things where I can say, you know what, I think that A, B, and C is wrong. And to me, people shouldn't do that.
yes.
And so I don't do it.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to promote doing it. But that's my opinion. And that's
Hmm.
just how I'm leading my life. And maybe I'll be curious about other people, or maybe I won't, but I won't condemn them. And um I won't tell them that they're wrong, because there is no right or wrong, because my view is just my view. It's not right or it's not wrong.
Hmm.
It's just that. And I'm just gonna keep doing what I need to be doing and staying in my lane and not being an obstacle for someone else for the sake of being an obstacle for someone else.
Mm. Yeah, and sometimes how you view something right now, 10 years from now, you're going to view it in a complete, you may, not always, but you may view it in a completely different
Hmm.
way, the same topic, and say, oh, yeah, you know what? This is what I thought at the time. But now my opinion has changed on that. And I was 100% sure on it before.
And I think just to bring it back to running too, I think one of the
Yeah.
things that I look at now so much differently, and I wish when I was younger and when I was competing at a younger age, like when I was competing in high school and college, and you know, um, first couple of years post college, that at that point I probably started to get it, but where I would view all the people around me in races as like almost like the enemy. Like they were coming up on the side of me. It was like, this person's coming up on the side of me. What's going on? Am I slowing down? And they're picking it up. And why should they pass me? Like I trained hard, and well, I guess I just stink. Or like in just using all of that against me, and instead of just leaning on that, like Fred said, like lean into that. Like now I lean heavily on when I'm in races and I happen to be in a group of people, or people are kind of going by me and we're kind of going back and forth. I really like that now, because it actually, where that would have in the past would have just gotten in my head and I would have been like, forget it, I suck. Now I'm like, let me listen to how this person is breathing. Let me see the line that they're taking as they're running, and let me follow that. Or, you know, um, let me just draft behind them. Or, oh, this person's got such positive energy. I'm just gonna, draw like an imaginary line to us. And I take that as I take strength in the people around me versus, um, you know, having always taken it before as like a negative.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, I think that, relating to other people like that is definitely gonna, is definitely gonna help. Um,
Just could go figure that I did not used to say to people as they were passing me in a race, hey, you have nice shoulder muscles. or I really like your shoes. But now, even though there's part of me that's thinking that person could be in my age group, and it could be me or them that when are at this age group, I still really think they got jacked shoulders and I really like their running shoes. So I'm just going to be like, where'd you get those running shoes? And,
Or
I would
jack
like to be
shoulders.
you, but, yeah, where did you get those? Can I borrow them?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the shoes or the shoulders?
You know what? Both.
Both.
I can
Okay.
jump on the shoulders when we go up the hill and they can like just carry me up the hill.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
I took the
Um,
train right off the track.
you did, but it's okay. I think that we probably need to start to wrap it up. So let me ask you this though. Do you think that so we're talking about common ground. Do you think that most people want to find common ground, or do you think that most people are just comfortable staying in the echo chambers?
I think that's a very interesting question.
Hmm.
I don't I honestly don't have a real answer for it because as I was saying before, there was that part of me that just was like, this is so toxic that I just want to shut down from it. And
Yeah.
by shutting down from it, really what I'm doing is I'm not looking for common ground. It's not what
Mm.
I'm purposely doing. I'm not purposely saying I don't want to find common ground with you, but by shutting it down, that's ultimately what I'm doing is kind of shutting
Mm.
down that common ground. Um, and I hope that it will be. I think it's hard when there are so many factors that are in play that are keeping us not on common ground. Like when you have things that there's many people, many things that benefit from us being um, in discourse and being
Yes.
like in that to me is really frustrating.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Like
not just political parties, but also foreign governments and corporations and so many different things.
yeah, when you
You know,
purposely keep people ignorant to something or you
yeah,
you purposely are putting individuals against one another
yeah,
and stuff, then it does make it hard.
yeah. Bad, things on the news. If it bleeds, it leads. I mean, they're, you know, having conflict is something that is, everybody loves to, that's why there's always, all these headlines and things like that. But at any rate, I think we talked about it a reasonable amount tonight. And uh I just, I think that like
So do
part
you think that so what is your wrap up then, I guess, because you can let me
yeah,
wrap up.
yeah,
What is your
yeah. I think
how are you
that
putting a bow on that present?
yeah, I kind of like they did in Middletown.
I'm
um,
telling you, that thing was huge. I was
oh
like,
my
oh my
God.
God. I was like, wow, that must have been like one of those like really big, big dogs, like those Great Danes. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm staring at human feces. Like this is wrong on
and
several
and
levels.
and and sometimes like you have to say like I just don't even want to go there. I don't want to see this. And it's kind of like an echo chamber that I don't want to be in. Like sometimes you don't look in the bottom of the portajohn, right? Because it's like there's nothing good down there for me, right? There's no story. I don't need to know this story, you know. I mean, so
Oh,
I now I think we just made any value that anybody got. I think that what we do sometimes is at this podcast is that like our goal sometimes we have an interest in breaking people. So no, I think honestly, I
but
think
wait a minute.
yes.
Can I just say one
Oh,
completely
please.
unrelated
Yes.
thing too? So maybe it's just me because I read so many creepy books, But there have been several times when I've been out for a run, like really late at night, when I should probably not be out by myself running and it's desolate and whatever. And I happen to be all excited because I see a porta-john and I'll go to use it and it's quiet and I'll think, what if, what if it was like one of my books that I read, one of my Karen Slaughter books or my other like crazy books, and I had to hide and there was a porta-john. Would I go in to the porta-john hole and shut the lid?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've started to think that, and then I'm like, you know what? Don't go there.
Nope.
Don't just don't, because
Yeah.
you don't know if there's a murderer chasing you, and you want to hide somewhere, and you don't want them to find you. It's a good chance that they're not going to think, hey, this person went into the belly of the beast.
Oh, they're gonna check there anyway.
Do you think
They're gonna be
they're
like
gonna
they
pull up that
followed.
lid?
Yeah, they followed you in there, and they're like, okay, where is she? Oh, I don't see her. She's not in the urinal. Like, and
No, I'm talking about like you're outside. You're outside, you're running. You're running from
yeah.
somebody. Somebody's on the hunt for you, and they don't see you. And they see this lone porta-john, and they open up the door, and there's nobody in. Are they going to flip open the lid and think, would that person actually get in there? They
Oh
might
yeah.
not.
It depends.
Shoot.
It depends. Okay, so it depends on whether it's a pit toilet or whether it's just a porta john. If it's a pit toilet, definitely they think that you might be in there, but you would be able to hide
Wait a
enough.
minute. What's a pit? What's a pit one?
That's like a big
Oh,
one that
like
you
a
find at the parks, like the big ones that are like more permanent.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Those are
no,
the more
that's
serious
too
old school
that's the
nasty.
ones where I'm afraid
There's
the
no.
opposite, where I'm going to go use it and then the girl's going to climb out of it like in the ring.
Oh yeah, they
So
do.
instead of climbing out of
Yes.
the well, she's climbing out of the hole in the toilet.
Oh,
Wow.
oh my gosh.
I just really turned it on its head. All right, so try put some lipstick on that pig.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So I just wanted to talk about some updates. First of all, I got to give you a major update. There was a major award. Um, you know what? I'm going to actually save that. I'll let you guys know about, I got a major award. And
You did?
I did. Yes.
I don't know about this. I really don't.
In an, well, I know, because I haven't told you about it. I just found out about it today. And well, I don't know. I'll maybe we can talk about it next week, but it's like it involved a cash award, or at least a gift certificate award, and a certificate of achievement that I got too, which is the best
What?
part. Yes, it's true. At
Why?
from my gym. From my gym, I got this certificate of achievement because I won the contest. And also,
We could have
yeah,
a whole episode on your gym, by the way.
I think
We
we
should
are.
have a whole
We're going
episode
to.
on your gym.
We are, because like now I am
Art's
known as
gym is
the
just like
leader.
is his his
No,
driveway.
no, yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm just
Okay.
saying
Yeah,
it's
I don't want
kind
to
of
like.
it's its own legend.
I have to
It's a
be quiet
legend
about some of this. Has to be like,
on the down low.
yeah, we have to be careful about how we release this information, just because I
Yeah,
don't want them to sell out, and then I won't be able to get in there, right? If too many
right.
people start going there, or if two people start going there. So yeah, and there's lots of other good things about that. So that's just a little teaser. So if you were thinking
I'm
that like,
excited.
oh, Art's a fucking has-been, he hasn't done anything since like 2018 when he ran the cut last time. Like, okay, wrong. I just got a major award. Okay, so, or the Iron Man. I know you're thinking, oh no, Art, we didn't think that because we know you did that Iron Man the other day, like 2019 or whatever
14?
it was.
19? Oh, okay.
19.
So
That was 6 years ago. So but right now, speaking of the cut, I did want to give just a little bit of an update on this. I don't know if we mentioned that Erica Notini finished the cut. She was the first seasonal finisher of the cut this year. So
and that was no teeny feat that
that's
she
right.
accomplished.
It was
No teeny fit that she accomplished. Boom, boom, boom.
That's right. It was a major
Yeah.
Eureka, Erica.
It was a motini.
That's
It was a
right.
hotini.
Not a
A
notini.
hootini.
That's right. Then next up, starting May 30th, Ross Belak is going to do an out and back on the Cut
And out and
112.
back and back and out.
That's
Yes.
right. A double
Bada
cut.
and you know what? Ross, he he's the nicest guy ever. And every time I'm like, oh, come on, we gotta have you on the podcast. No, I don't want to, whatever. And you know what? He doesn't get a choice. When you're Ross and you come to Connecticut and this many people are dropping everything for you to come and be there for you, you owe it to the podcast community
That's right.
to speak. So Ross, we're not asking anymore. We're telling. You will be on
Resistance
the
is
show.
futile.
You
Resistance
know what
is
I'm going to
futile.
do? I am going to be with him on Sunday. And you know
You're
what?
not going to be with him on Sunday. You're going to run with him.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes. And
Sorry, just clarifying for some of our
if
listeners out there, right? Important note.
well, and I think that if he isn't broken by then, and he's a tough person to break. I mean, he's just a great guy. I think it's high time I broke him. I'm gonna be, out there with my phone, and I'm gonna be asking him some hard-hitting questions.
Yes.
And he may or may not know that I'm recording him and gonna have it on the podcast. And
all
whatever.
rights reserved, subject to errors and
Exactly.
omissions.
Yeah. You know what I have to say about that? Ba 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 ba.
That's right. I'm loving it. Okay, so he's up next. Then on the
Yes.
traditional day, we're going to have, I think we're going to have 4 runners doing on the traditional Cut 112 day. We're going to have, which is the same day as Connecticut Forests and Parks. So they're National Trail Days. So
right.
we're going to have, let's see, Matt Wakely is going to run, and
Go, Matt.
And his friend Brandon are going to run. Okay.
Go,
so
Brandon.
those guys
It's your
are
birthday.
running. It's your birthday. And then also one of the famous, there's a brotherhood of runners there, and some brothers who run. One of the famous Baker boys is going to run. It's Billy Baker is going to be running.
Oh, Billy Bobby Byron Baker? No, not that Baker.
Kind of.
I don't.
And
Wait.
Also Mr. Justice himself, Justin Carreri, is going to run as well.
Oh, yay.
So,
yay. Man, I might have to get myself out there and start heckling.
Yes.
Or cheering or supporting.
Yeah. So they're going to be running, I believe it's on the 6th is the day. So I'm just checking the calendar here. Yeah, Friday the 6th. They're going to be running that. So that's 112 miles starting in up Rising Corners, Massachusetts, at the border of of Connecticut, and running the Metacomet and the Mattabeesett and the Monunketuk Trail, 112 miles to the Long Island Sound with no sleep.
Yeah.
So they will be doing that, and I think that's freaking
we wish them a
awesome.
lot of luck.
Yes,
and a lot of evil moments that hopefully they can capture.
Yeah.
And
so
send
if
to
you're
us.
That's right. So if you're out there, look them up on Facebook. They're at the Cut 112 page, and they will all be out there doing that. I'm sure they would appreciate any trail magic or support you can give them, or going out and running a couple miles with them, So
yes.
Love the fact that they're keeping it all alive. So
yeah.
So
very good.
All right, Beck. Well, thank you for this conversation tonight. This was, I think, it's just the kind of thing that we want to have, except for maybe the porta potty discussion that our listeners hopefully will love. And
maybe they'll think about it.
Yeah.
And they'll wonder too, next time they're in there.
Go out and share a cup of coffee with somebody that you don't agree with. you know, and you'll
Mhm.
find, and when it's all done, you'll find the common grounds. So,
Yep.
um,
And they could be caffeinated or decaffeinated.
that's right. That's right.
Boom,
So, to all of our listeners, so first of all, thank you everybody for listening. We are
Mhm.
112% listener supported. So
Support is good.
I think we're going to probably at some point reinstate our Patreon peeps. So if you're listening, this would be funny.
And you're
Like
like,
if you're listening and I was like, fuck, I want my money back, then cancel us because we're going to bill you pretty soon. But if you're not signed up and you'd like to, you don't get any special episodes, and and
but we're gonna be saying everybody's names again,
yeah,
right?
at some, yes,
Yeah.
we are. So we do
Yes.
appreciate you being out there,
So
and
we will shame you
we'll fuck up your name. So don't you worry about it.
and shame you.
If shame them for what?
Exactly.
What are we going to shame them for?
I don't know.
Yeah,
For
and
you know what?
that's
For nothing.
it's
That's
none of
what
their
we do.
business. It's none of their business. Just mind your own business. Okay. Thank
Exactly.
you for everybody listening. If you made it this far, of course, seek professional help, and we will see you all in a mile.
Mile and a half.
All right. All right.
Yay!
Very good.
Really say when they
hear that.
I have no idea, man.
I don't know why this does this.
Definitely don't listen with your kids. Don't listen with your significant other. Don't listen with your grandparents. Like,
Oh my
don't
god, I
listen-
think this is
don't make
so
eye
funny.
contact with anyone on the train while you're listening to this shit. Like, yeah, it's
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Trail Running Podcast, where we talk about all the fun. Wait a minute. Was I going to say that before the name of the episode or after?
I
What did I say?
I think you were doing great. I think you can say that, and then you can say tonight's episode. Like you can say, welcome to the Culture Trail Running Podcast. We're talking about all the things in life that we talk about or won't talk about. And tonight's episode is.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, just writing.
Nope, that's okay.
Okay. Moment of silence.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Trail Running Podcast, where we talk about all what?
Let's start that over because it like the sound didn't work. There was something weird. Let's have that again. Let's roll 3. Okay, take 2 in 3, 2, 1, go. Sorry.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Culture Trail Running Podcast, where we talk about all the fun and crazy shit that happens on the trails and in our lives that most people don't care about or won't talk about. Tonight is episode 326 on finding common ground in life, and we hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed recording it.
All right. Here we go.